Welcome to the Transformation Talks podcast, in-depth conversations on transformation with Rajiv Dhingra, founder and CEO of RDNX Network.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Transformation Talks podcast. Today we have an exciting new edition and a new guest for you. We heard your feedback from all our listeners. We're now starting to talk to digital practitioners who are deep into digital marketing and can give you insights on the major transformation happening in the marketing ecosystem as we speak across audience, data, identity, and whatnot. So today we have a very special guest. Preetham Jena. Preetham is the digital and CRM lead at Reckitt Nutrition. He is a data-driven marketer with over 12 years experience working in leadership roles, driving business growth across digital e-commerce, technology, and data analytics for blue-chip clients in FMCG, consumer durables, telecom, and travel. He has been credited with building up fresh digital ecosystems, managing huge performance marketing setups, launching and managing multiple apps with multi-million downloads while excelling in regional matrixed organizations. He's recognized as a thought leader in the industry, having been the keynote speaker in several international marketing forums. It's a pleasure to have Preetham on the call. Welcome, Preetham.
Thanks a lot, Rajiv. It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure to be here with talking to you.
Yes. Preetham, thank you so much to be on the Transformation Talks podcast. Let's start off with this word called marketing transformation. Marketing transformation in what we are today as a privacy-first world. What changes as marketer, as you are a marketer yourself, what changes do marketers need to make to adapt to this ever increasing privacy-first world?
See, privacy has become a buzzword right now, and rightly so, because everybody since the last decade or so, when everything came online and more of these marketers started thinking about digital, they usually forgot about this entire intrusive nature of marketing altogether, right? So you put on a TV and the user or the consumer doesn't, even if he doesn't want to see your ad, has to see your ad. And same with the newspaper, same with any other channel that is there. So the evolvement didn't happen as soon as people started to invest in the marketing forum on the digital side. Now this, having done that for almost like a decade or so, GDPR woke up, things like GDPR came into being, and which is where marketers started to evolve themselves more and more, and data privacy became a thing. Even today, you receive hundreds of SMSs right now, promotional SMS, and you don't know what to do about that. That is purely because some marketers do not believe in data privacy at all. But this is something that is going to be here to stay. If you are not going to be somebody who actually respects the privacy of your consumer, you are not going to succeed at all. So GDPR, any other PR regulations that are there are here to stay, and we need to make up for that. What we need to ensure as a marketer is to guide the users or the consumers on why is it required and what benefit it actually drives for them. We need to tell them beforehand. While it gives us so many more information about the customers and all these things, the customer does not understand. He is giving you his data, his or her data. We need to ensure that we are driving him the benefit of all of these things. That is the most important aspect. Moreover, what has changed in the last couple of years is user flow. Everybody understands now they will be looking at a cookie consent window first up. Pop-up will come through first up. So it has already been imbibed in the user interface right now, in the minds of the users. So most important factor, give them the benefit of, just right away tell them what is the benefit of data consent that they are trying to give you. And second, try to make it more intrinsic with the user flow on your website or on your app or wherever you are collecting the data points. All of these sets are important as a must do, a mandate element going forward. Do not ever breach the privacy of your customers. If you do that, you're losing out on him, definitely, for sure.
And in general, how has your workflow changed, in a privacy first world? What are you doing different? What tools, what technologies, what are you telling your agencies? How are you making sure that as a marketing organization, you are compliant with a privacy first world?
Now, there is an entire ecosystem that is built in order to get the data consent. Next, attribute all of these data onto a system, onto a central engine room, and whatever data that is being collected, all of that gets added up to that central ecosystem. Now, this ecosystem is what we call a MarTech setup or a MarTech stack, or even you can add up the ad technology part of it, right? So starting from what is the user experience that you are trying to give. You can put on an optimizer over there. You can put multiple different things on the web platforms that are there. How you're collecting that data is where your CDP, your DMP, and all these things come into picture, wherein you're collecting data from your assets in both in PII form and non-PII form. And all of these data, when you are using this data in a pure form of how you are deploying whatever data that you have set, how you are segmenting it, how you are activating it using maybe a DSP, maybe any other platform that you have set up, any SSP if you are a publisher side user. And finally, what is the ad tech ecosystem that you have built in pure terms of ad serving, your entire brand safety guidelines that you are trying to build, and all of these aspects. And all of them come back together into the CDP or the DMP that you are trying to build as a database, as a central engine room of all data that you are going to collect.
Interesting, there's CDP, there's DMP, there's CXM. On the ad tech side, there is a DSP. Some may say even DMP is on the ad tech side. Too many platforms on customer data management of one way or another, one kind of data to or another, first party, third party. There are different views of where the cookie-less world is growing. And this creates, today there are over 8,000 MarTech and AdTech platforms out there globally. What is the best way for marketers to evaluate what works on them? How do you have a framework? How do you evaluate how many platforms is needed across your MarTech, AdTech value chain? And how do you make sure that these platforms talk to each other and also constantly evolve? It must be a difficult decision. What is your evaluation process? That would be lovely for our listeners to know.
Actually, you have nailed it, Rajiv, on this one, because this is one question that I get asked a lot by everybody, by across, even in my board itself, right? So my MD, my GM, and everybody would be asking about this question: do we need to invest at all? So that's the first question always. Do we need to invest, and how much do we need to invest, and can we justify this investment? So the framework that I work around is basically the first question that I ask myself is, what do I want to achieve out of it, right? So before you set up this entire thing about CDP, DMP, ad tech, all these things, technology and all these things, first thing I need to understand is, what do I need to achieve out of this thing? Do you want to achieve media efficiency? Do you want to achieve personalized customer experience, something out of this world? Do you want to collect data from your customer database, build a database and talk to them regularly, keep them engaged? Or are you talking about an e-commerce setup which will talk to which will become like a revenue driver for you? Yeah, in what sense? Like,
Preetham, wouldn't you want all of these things? Isn't there? It wouldn't be a this versus that choice, right?
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say over here is, once you have ascertained what is your need out of these 5 or 6 or 7 different objectives. All of these needs actually lead out to a certain different ecosystem altogether. So now each of the ecosystem that you are trying to build within your MarTech, AdTech setup is personalized based on what is your end goal. Okay, now these end goals, so in I'm pretty sure you will have a lot of your listeners who can understand the entire cricketing terminology. It's like a player who is a batting all-rounder. His main job is to bat, and he can always do some amount of bowling somewhere, right? So, and similarly for a bowling all-rounder. So if your ecosystem demands that I am an e-commerce player, so for me, most important aspect is acquisition, and second is engagement. So your ecosystem will be built like that. You have a batting all-rounder, which is okay, acquisition is my primary goal, so I'll be putting lots of efforts on building my ad tech, building my inherent source of the first customer that is there, and how do I build on this customer base using lookalike model, which a DMP will come into picture.
But,
If for example,
so Preetham,
sorry.
what I hear you say is that, you know, for specific use case, you will go with a specific MarTech and AdTech stack and adopt that. But wouldn't this create a plethora of MarTech and AdTech stacks across our matrixed organizations, which you have been part of? Doesn't that create more complication rather than the simplification that you are looking for?
Okay, so I think I was not able to clarify properly. So while you have all these it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. So basically, all of them are part of the overall ecosystem we are trying to build, and
Sure.
this ecosystem might change depending on, so say for example, how much percentage of my efforts or time or money needs to go into a certain thing versus the other thing, because my budgets are limited, right? So I have so much money and so much budget that I have already allocated to myself. Now this budget, 10% of this can go into acquisition, 10% of this can go into engagement, and 10% into other things, depending on what is that I'm trying to achieve, what is that I'm prioritizing over the other. So either I spend 10% across, or I spend 15% on acquisition, 8% on engagement, and similarly so on and forth. So basically you are trying to plug in different platforms and you're building this ecosystem around what your overall overarching budgets that you have set aside for that.
So,
Yeah, so all of this is stitched together, but within the stitchment, the priority changes, the priority of the distribution of budgets, distribution of asset allocation, distribution of time allocation changes within the ecosystem.
That's very interesting. So if you can give an example for the benefit of everybody who's listening, if you were doing all of these 4 use cases that you mentioned, what are the different platforms that you would stitch together? And this could be very, very top level view. You know, you could say X plus this plus this plus this would give you, you know, in a larger sense, cover all these bases.
So let me give you like 2 examples, 2 very glaring example of 2 different industries altogether.
Sure.
So one industry is the baby nutrition industry. Okay, I'll talk the setup that I am in right now. So baby nutrition as a category is so there is something called WHO code, wherein there is a blackout period. You cannot sell your products directly, communicate your product directly to mothers who have a baby under 1 year, because the WHO says that breast milk is the best form of milk and no other thing can replace that. So that's yeah. So what happens is for them, its most important aspect for a baby nutrition client is they have to build an engagement first platform. Okay, when I say an engagement first platform, they need to build a customer database, which can be a customer or which can be a target audience as well. So basically, whosoever is a mom or a pregnant mother, we need to first acquire them, build a database wherein all of this PII data that we are collecting gets dumped into. Once it is dumped into this setup, you have all the different assets that you have. You have a website, you have apps, you have social media, and all of these things. The users are traversing all these places as well, right? So need to collect non-PII data from there, because you have collected the name, all of the name, phone number, email IDs, and all of these things, but that does not reflect onto the website, right? Website has a cookie identity. So there is a different set of data is getting added from your own assets. Okay, that data inflows into the central data engine room, which I called CDP earlier, right? So now once this data sets in, you have the e-commerce part as well. Okay, now that you have put before I go into e-commerce, I keep talking about engagement here. Now, because you are creating this engagement first medium, you need to create an ecosystem wherein you keep on talking to them in a cadence which has been approved by a market research, right? So for me, it's like I need to hit every mom at least 4 or 5 times a year at different stages. Okay, because when the baby is 3 months old or 6 months old, or during pregnancy or during delivery, mom's needs are different. Okay, so my conversation has to be totally different in each of these stages, right? So which is where there needs to be a good delivery platform and using all of these things. So for example, how can I reach them? SMS, email, phone number, calls, push notification, Facebook advertisement, any other form, whatever forms are there. All of this needs to take in the unified entity of that mother, right? So that's another set of that's another cog that you need to make for the wheel, right? So which you can use an SFA, a marketing cloud from Salesforce, a marketing cloud from Oracle, Adobe, all of these guys, and get a deployment system in terms of EDM, SMS, and everything. Then you add up another line to it, because we collected PII data before. We are collecting non-PII data from other sources. There needs to be a system which merges both of them together so that we have one single unified entity of the mothers that we are collecting, right? So this is where a live ramp comes into picture. So maybe a live ramp, maybe an IOTA, all of these guys come into picture who will unify a non-PII data with the PII data source so that we get one single source. Then comes another part when we have DSPs come into being, okay, which is where you have your data. Now that data needs to be activated in the form of multi-platform activations, in the form of R&F, in the form of CPC campaigns and multi other campaigns that are there. So you are trying to build the ad tech universe also, but then that's an afterthought, because the primary goal in the nutrition business is to engage with the mother more and more. If I cut to a situation wherein I am a seller, for example, I'm selling e-commerce. I'm an e-commerce platform. Okay.
Right.
Same industry. I'll talk about baby e-commerce platforms. Now, for them, interaction is not so much more of importance, but for them, the most important aspect is how do we convert more? How do we convert more and more people who are coming onto the website and getting them hooked to a purchase cycle? Right. So for example, .com comes into picture. What they need to build here is their customer data platform will be more evolved in terms of an ad tech universe. Okay. What it will do essentially is collect all of these data points, start creating, maybe you put in a DMP in place because you need to expand the mother base, right? Expand the user base, the customer base that you want to work upon. So you build lookalikes on that. So you on a DMP wherein there is no data identifier of the mother, but then what it will enable you to is expand your target base to 2x, 3x, 5x, depending on how deep you want to do. then you get into, because you want to show all of your ads in a very, very decent manner, and you need to use data partners also, right? So which is where you want to add up, say, a MasterCard data, you want to add up travel data, which actually accentuates whatever data that you have collected in your system into a further different levels of precision, so that you get better conversion rates coming in. So you will be investing more on the ad tech front over there. Yeah,
Right.
your CRM will be more evolved in the sense of an after delivery model as well. So for an e-commerce player, email will have a platform like email would have multiple levels to it, which engagement led platform might not have. Yeah, they will add up the entire ecosystem of Shopify over there, wherein they will have e-commerce led transactions, conversations, and data inflow coming in, retargeting, and all of these engines will start talking to each other. So you saw both of them have the same ecosystem, but their priorities are different. Yeah,
I
engagement
understand.
is a different
Yes.
priority.
And this
Advertisement.
was very well articulated, Preetham, because it gave us a understanding of the single view of the customer and how marketers can achieve the single view of the customer as well. This is very interesting. But still, this poses one of the problems of silos, right? So you have a siloed ecosystem where you have a different marketing cloud, a different first third party management platform. You have a different platform for activation. You have different analytics platform, and 5 or 6 platform need to be engineered to work together to give you a single solution at the end of the day. One of the reports of Q4 Digital Trends Report 2020 states that 53% of the marketers believe that marketing silos is the biggest thing holding them back to improve not just their ROI, ROAS, but also customer experience management. So how do you foresee such an operations being unified and simplified, and scaling of marketing ops? Because today digital marketing is a global phenomenon. Most companies are spending anywhere upwards of 25%. Some are spending even 50% of their digital spends on digital total spends. Correct?
Right.
But yet, it being a digital medium, real-time access to data, reporting, activation is still not there. Today, most clients, I would like to believe, still work in a weekly reporting format at best, right? Real-time data access that they would need for real-time decision making is not there. They're still dependent on their agency wrapping up a report and sharing it with them. And beyond that, it's also the problem of silos. So where do you see an opportunity here, or and if it's not yet there, what do you see as the core pain point for marketers that needs to be solved if there is no solution?
Again, brilliant question, Rajiv, on this one. I'm telling you, this used to be a problem with me before I got into the entire technology sphere, and having spent a considerable amount of time on both the client side and the agency side in India, I can fairly tell you that a massive amount of time is built into unifying all of these data sets into one Excel sheet, which is done by a single person who's hired on an agency level or on a brand level. So all of these data points get assimilated onto that Excel. So this has been happening since last, I don't know how many years, and it was there till like 5 years back. Till I think technology started taking shape, wherein we are living in very good times, I'll tell you, Rajiv. So anything that you want, you have technology backing it out. And the best thing about any of these technology is they all are in a way talking to each other, and all of them can be pulled out of anywhere and plugged into your ecosystem just like that. But the best part of all of these things is, the most important aspect of all of these things is to get a central engine room, what I call the central engine room, you need to invest the maximum on that particular aspect, because that's
Correct.
where, which is like a warehouse of all your data sets from
Correct.
different platforms, from different all these areas. That's where all of your data is dumped and worked upon and used in different mediums, activated. All of these things are happening on that central engine. That's the most important aspect. It can be a CDP, it can be a DMP, it can be your CRM, which can be evolved in a certain manner. Now, if you are investing in that particular warehouse in a good manner, do not ever be stingy on that aspect, because that's one aspect that will help you in getting the best out of all the other aspects within the martech stack or the ad tech stack. So that's the most important aspect, is the central engine room. Okay, once you have that in place, then you think about all of your other dimensions. Now, all the other dimensions that come through, will you need to, as a marketer, you need to ensure that they talk to each other. Yeah, you talked about reporting. Reporting is what? Reporting is basically data from different sources, different platforms coming together in one single view. That's what a report does, right? That
Correct.
report gives some amount of, it actually caters to a certain objective. That objective might be a GM's objective, who wants to see a bird's eye view. It might be a digital marketer's point of view, which is to get deeper into it from an individual KPI angle, and for a performance marketer who will go into each and every single cell over here to look at. Now, when you're creating a data setup like this, you need to ensure that it is easily operationable for each of these people and being user friendly in the same way. So which is, when we say it needs to be simple, it's very easy to say simple, but to create a simple solution, it takes a whole lot of effort. A lot of complex thoughts needs to get into that, right? So which is
Agreed.
where our data flow has to be perfect. And this is the world when we are talking about these walled gardens like
Correct.
Facebook, Google, wherein they don't want to share their data, right? Because
Correct.
a Facebook is actually notorious on that aspect. They will never share any kind of data onto any other system. But we need solution that can work around that, and that's where I think there are certain aspects, both in dashboarding, data collection. It can be Google Data Studio, it can be Data Roma, it can be any other platform which are big in this thing. And it always boils down to one thing. Okay, the one thing is, how are we defining our returns? Okay,
Sure.
because the returns will ensure how much money that we can invest. Because you may not need an expansive solution which is expensive also. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you just need a certain solution that works for you, that may not be as expensive, and which will work brilliantly for you, even if it costs like half of it or one quarter of it. In the
Right.
end, it should ensure that it's giving a view that is easily viewable by your MD, easily viewable by yourself, your director, and or
Right.
your even the person who's making the report. That
Fair.
view has to be pitch perfect.
That sounds very, very thought through, Preetham, and actually articulated very, very well. So let me come to my final question. Looking ahead at this decade, it started with one of the most transformative events of the century, a pandemic, and probably the digital industry, any kind of digital industry, whether it's the cryptocurrency or digital marketing or the data ecosystem, everything has got a shot in the arm and much more with the pandemic. But looking ahead at this decade, what are the major transformations you see for the marketing domain?
So one thing the pandemic has helped, or actually you can say this can be a bad influence also, is it has hooked a lot of youngsters onto their screens, yeah, because of multiple reasons. It can be, I don't know, I will not talk about ethics over here in terms of, okay, if this is good or bad in their health, nothing, I will not talk about that. I'm talking pure play user experience level,
Right.
because this is the audience base which is going to become a consumer or a buyer in the next decade or so. This user is hooked on to screens right now. They are not looking at TV, they're not looking at any other medium. They are not even they are very much hooked into this thing. And the first thing that is there, they are now, when I say hooked, they know what is a user interface. If you have kids in your house, if they're seeing YouTube on the phone, on the TV, when you are trying to stream it, you will see there is a typical behavior that toddlers nowadays or kids nowadays show is they start swiping their hands.
Correct.
Yeah, swiping the screens just like that. They do not know that a TV might be a different from their iPads or their phones, but still they will be swiping around because they are used to this interface. The interface has changed totally for them, right? We were of the generation wherein we are looking for remotes to change the TV and everything. So
correct.
Our user behavior is totally different from there, and they are naturalized into this entire system. So this is where the world will become. It will become more of a personalized experience. That person, that small kid today who will become like a consumer in 2-3 years, that person, we need to create websites, apps, experiences on the laptops and iPads, on phones, such that that person can feel at home with that. Nowadays, all these websites are trying to build a balance between the users who are naturalized and the users who are born with it, right? So we are not born with a website, a very how do I put it, a user-friendly website which turns around in different manners and gives me a very personalized sense. I'm not very used to it because I'm an oldie. But a user, a new guy, he wants to see only those things which matter to her or him. They want to see what is that?
Personalized.
Yeah, I'm just talking about all these videos like Shark Dance, that Shark song that is there. So they want to see all these songs coming up. They don't want to, they're pretty much used to this swiping culture, right? So they don't want their experience to be hurt by all of these things. And this is what will change going forward. There is another thing that will change big time is all these marketing things that we talk about today in terms of CMI, in terms of sampling, all these kind of things, not sampling, but sampled data kind of things. This will change because with the end of what do you call it, the cookie generation, the new non-cookie environment, what it will entail everyone is to start building their own database, start creating a fan base for themselves that they can keep interacting with and keep growing upon, right? So this is where no more, I will not want a particular research agency coming to me and telling me that I have a panel data of 3 million people, 300,000, and I will keep your track of what the user behavior is changing. I do not want that. I have a 1 million+ database that I talk to regularly, and I'll keep a track of what is happening. Am I doing good? Are you looking at my brand the right way? Have you seen my brand in like last 10 days or something? All of these questions my database will answer for me. So this is something that will become a big thing, apart from the obvious that MarTech and AdTech actually give as a promise to all of us, right? So that's where it will make a lot of sense to start investing now if you haven't done it. It's like the best time to invest on technology was 2 years back. Now you are already late. So you need to start building this right up as soon as possible. Get onto this thing. You cannot spend only on media right now. You need to spend on technology more then your media will actually get you better benefits. So that's the underlying thought around it.
That sounds excellent, Preetham. Summarizing for our listeners, don't just invest in media, invest in your tech stack, build it out to bring results that you want from your marketing. Make sure you pick the right partners, integrate them correctly, pick the right reporting structures, as well as look at how to build a single view of your customer so that you can engage with this customer on an ongoing basis. Thank you so much, Preetham, for your time and your insights. This was extremely enlightening and very detailed and articulate as well. Thank you for being with us on Transformation Talks.
Pleasure was all mine, Rajiv. This was a really good conversation. I'm glad. I'll just hope everybody gets some amount of inspiration from this and jump onto the technology bandwagon as soon as possible.
I'm sure they do. Thank you so much, Preetham. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Transformation Talks podcast hosted by Rajiv Dhingra, founder and CEO of RD&X Network. Tune in next week for another interesting episode.